Welcome to this video. That is, I believe, a rake brush, an angle brush, a filbert brush, and a liner brush or a script brush. I've been asked multiple times to do a tutorial or a demonstration or a description of how I do hair. It's mostly that 5 or 6 pronged brush that I call a rake brush that I'm using here. This is a very simple head in terms of hair. We only have 4 colors. The black that's already on there, the white that's right there. We have a medium gray tone, which is actually grayish brown, and a darker gray tone. And we're using this brush sort of to blend. We do 3 things with it. We use it angularly, and then it works like a filbert brush. We use it on its side where it's almost like a liner, and then we use it flat where it will do multiple strands of hair with one swipe. To do hair, you want your paint to be thinned out with a medium or with water. This is, of course, acrylic paint, and you need to dip a whole lot because not very much paint is going to be on that brush. It is a tedious process to paint hair. The key is contrast. The key with everything is contrast. We're plotting our darks and lights. If you noticed at the beginning, we could see the lines on it already where I put some lines where the hair would flow. Now we're just putting light in there, thinking about where the light hits. This is a cross between a reference photo and my own imagination, but it's mostly the reference photo and just understanding how light works. Because he has salt and pepper hair, it's a basic palette. A lot of times with brown hair or red hair or blonde hair, you're going to be working with a lot of, or especially even black hair, you're going to be working with a lot of different blues or reds or magentas or siennas or umbers, or all different sorts of varieties of color adds a lot. But here it's just a contrast issue, and contrast is king. Contrast is everything in most paintings. Especially look how his head is turned with light on one side and shadow on the other. This is a contrast painting. Now there's some overthinking here, where we sort of begin to blend everything together into just sort of blah gray, and I'll go back in the end and fix that. That's not part of the painting, unfortunately, but notice what we do. We start with black and we start with white, and then we blend into gray. Then we go black and white and gray, and we redefine our shadows and our highlights more and more and more. The little curl up on the top right above his forehead, not really a curl, it's just hanging down, and the shadow right underneath it. Look how much further back the shadow looks than the little piece hanging down. That is what this is all about. Putting little lines in. This whole process took no longer than 20 minutes to do the hair. And in the end, you'll notice I'll start to put some browns in, but then that turns out not to be enough, and I will actually glaze a whole layer with glazing medium of brown over the top, which kills a little bit of the highlight and shadow, but more importantly, it's too cold of a color, and he really has brown hair anyway, but it just needed warmed up. And you'll see when I do the zoom in, that's after a glaze, and glazes are really easy. You just watch the whole thing. It's mostly medium and just a little bit of paint. Just slather the whole thing on the whole bit, and it'll just add that layer of color. Now notice what we're defining here is where the light hits the hair. That's what you're thinking about. And it's around the corona, as it were, around the edge of his whole head. And also there in the part, we're going to go back, I think right now probably, and, okay, no, that's in a minute. We're going to go back in and we're going to define the part, because the light is really hitting him sort of on the top and on the, I guess, the viewer's right side, his left side of his face. So you'll notice where you have light hitting, you have more detail. The left side of your paint, your perspective, has very little going on there. I'm not there very much with my brush. I'm usually on the side where you see the most hair, and it's not because you see the most hair, it's because that's where the light is. And where there's light, there's more contrast, there's more detail, your eye can see more, and the more contrast and detail you put where the light is, the more it looks like a real thing. Here's where we're going in and defining that part, because that's really right where the light is hitting. So we're just going to put some white on, and now we've got the brush turned on its side like a liner brush. If you're not real adept with this brush, or it doesn't do the trick for you, and it doesn't for every artist, everybody's different, then you need to do a cross between two things: a liner brush and probably a flat brush or a filbert brush. But this brush, really, if you get the hang of it, sort of serves as both, and you can be lazy that is, and make it easy and do the whole thing with just that, pretty much that one brush. I do use two of the others a little bit in this painting, but not very much. Here it's pretty good. There's a little bit of overthinking there. We sort of erase some of the contrast there on his left side, and we need to go back through and add some dark blacks in there to make it look like strands of white standing out. And I'll do that and show you the picture of that in the comments. That's not part of the video, but some of those deep blacks that you see on the edge there, they need to be there in the hair too, a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit goes a long way in terms of black and in terms of white. So just detailing the small sort of tap, 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 tap areas where the hairs are short. I'm sort of reaching across the canvas, which makes it both awkward in terms of the viewer and in terms of me painting. See how now I'm putting brown in? I'm realizing, no, his hair needs to be browner. That actually created a flaw, though. It sort of blended everything into one color and took some of that contrast out, which I will go back in again and put in. And in the comments, you can see what the finished result looks like. We're putting that white back in that we blended out. We blended it out on purpose to add some depth. And now we're putting that back in. Just put white back in and put white back in and put white back in. Same thing I did with the face. Blend it out and put it back in. Blend it out and put it back in. It does dull the color down, but that's why I use a very vibrant palette. And so we have the illusion of a lot of individual hairs without having to paint very many. Both because that brush has individual strands and because we thought about contrast the whole time. Thinking about composition and contrast will go very far in painting. Let me see again. I've overthought the gray right there. It did add some depth, but that black needs to be put back in. Some black lines, which is an easy final step. That's not part of the video. Getting your drawing right goes very, very far. You don't want to correct the drawing with the painting. That is to say, you don't want to correct your initial thoughts more than you have to. Although layers upon layers does serve as a very good corrective, as well as a depth addition. Now notice when I zoom in, it looks different because I've done a glaze of brown. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Add any comments, criticism, helps, whatever you want to say. This is not the finished result. That's in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.